This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. The war of words between former CIA Director John Brennan and President Donald Trump has escalated after the president revoked his security clearance. And now Brennan is threatening to go to court. Meanwhile, a new story on Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. Mueller's team has spoken with the White House counsel Don McGahn, but the president says he waived executive privilege and gave McGahn permission to speak to Mueller's people. Our Amber Strong brings us the story now from Washington.
Over the weekend, a new revelation on Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. A New York Times report revealing White House counsel Don McGahn cooperated extensively, delivering 30 hours of testimony to Mueller's team. President Trump says it's no surprise. In fact, he welcomed it, waiving executive privilege. I allowed White House counsel Don McGahn and all other requested members of the White House staff to fully cooperate with the special counsel, Trump tweeted. While the president's team doesn't know what McGahn told the special counsel, Rudy Giuliani believes it will be good for the president in the long run.
John Dowd yesterday said, I'll use his words rather than mine, that McGahn was a strong witness for the president.
Meanwhile, on Friday, Mr. Trump saying he has no regrets about yanking former CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance.
Many people don't even know who he is, and now he has a bigger voice, and that's okay with me because I like taking on voices like that. I've never respected him. I've never had a lot of respect.
Brennan, an outspoken critic of the president, issuing a threat of his own. Legal action against President Trump.
So I am going to do whatever I can personally to try to prevent these abuses in the future. And if it means going to court, I will do that.
Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper says Brennan's politicizing comments are cause for concern.
John is sort of like a freight train, and he's going to say what's on his mind. John and his rhetoric have become, I think, an issue in and of itself.
However, Clapper went on to say he shared Brennan and a number of other intelligence officials' concerns about the president's threats to their institutions and values. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Wretched and disastrous. That's how U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the 2015 joint nuclear deal with Iran. Bolton met Netanyahu in Jerusalem today. It is the second of 3 days of meetings, and he left little doubt the U.S. and Israel now see eye to eye on the threat from Iran.
It's a question of the highest importance for the United States that Iran never get a deliverable nuclear weapons capability. It's why President Trump withdrew from the wretched Iran nuclear deal. It's why he is reimposing economic sanctions.
And I frankly believe that all countries who care about peace and security in the Middle East should follow America's lead and ratchet up the pressure on Iran.
Bolton added the Trump administration has worked with America's friends in Europe to take stronger steps against Iran's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. And the U.S. is still concerned about Iran's role as the central bank of international terrorism. Multiple strong earthquakes killed at least a dozen people in Indonesia Sunday. A magnitude 6.9 quake hit about 10 p.m. with one of several powerful earthquakes that also caused landslides. The nighttime quake was followed by strong aftershocks. Officials there say more than 1,800 houses were damaged. This comes as the region is still recovering from a tremor earlier this month that killed hundreds of people. Here's a look now at some of the other major headlines we're following for you today inside the CBN newsroom. Dozens of elderly South Koreans traveled to the border for reunions with relatives in North Korea they've been separated from since the Korean War. The week-long event comes amid reconciliation efforts between the Koreas as they work to resolve a standoff over North Korea's nuclear weapons. Nearly 20,000 people have participated in 20 rounds of face-to-face reunions since 2000. No one has had a second chance, though, to see their relatives. India's Navy has opened a military airport to commercial planes to help in relief efforts following the country's worst flooding in a century. Nearly 800,000 people have been displaced and 350 have died since the downpours began nearly 2 weeks ago. Officials there say thousands of rescuers are working to reach stranded people and to deliver relief supplies. Nearly 10,000 people are still stranded. Another weekend of violence in Chicago adds to the city's uptick in gun violence in 2018. The Chicago Sun-Times reports at least 57 people were shot since Friday night alone. Emergency authorities say 18 people were shot after 5 p.m. Friday evening, 23 were shot on Saturday alone, and another 21 were shot Sunday. 5 of those people were killed. Now, for more on these stories and others throughout the day, remember you can always visit cbnnews.com. Bands of Islamic burqas are spreading across Europe. Denmark banned face coverings in public places earlier this month that made them the 5th European country to do so. And in Britain, comments from politician Boris Johnson about the burqa made comments that would have made most Americans laugh. But in Britain, they threatened his political future. Adil Hurd is on this story.
I have nothing to say about this matter except offer you some tea.
Britain's former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson does not look bothered at all over the criticism heaped upon him after writing a newspaper article defending the right of women to wear burqas. If he'd only done that, he would have been called a hero in politically correct Britain. But Johnson couldn't resist adding that burqas make women look like letterboxes and bank robbers. The left went crazy. Prime Minister Theresa May acted appalled, and Johnson's Conservative Party has launched an investigation. The Muslim Council of Britain says Johnson must be held to account.
This is something that has impacted Muslim women across the country in many different ways, in particular within verbal assaults from on the street. This is a serious concern and should not be thrown away as something obviously trivial.
This in a country where insults of Christians and Christianity are perfectly fine. British Muslims are far from a majority in this country, but their influence already exceeds their actual numbers. And women are still allowed to wear the burqa in Britain while it has been banned or regulated in over a dozen nations, including Denmark. While most former Muslims view the burqa as a symbol of oppression, the European left marches in support of it.
I see it as a part of my faith, and now it has also become a part of my identity, which is why I feel so strongly about it.
But it's not natural to walk around in Denmark looking like a living tent. I think it's absolutely crucial that we have a burqa ban. Otherwise, we will end up like London.
Norwegian filmmaker Walid Al-Kubaisi, who made a documentary about the history of the Muslim headscarf and burqa, calls them the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood and a visible sign of growing Muslim power in society, a much more serious charge than saying the burqa makes a woman look like a mailbox. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thousands of evangelical churches in Rwanda are being temporarily shut down. It's because of a new government requirement. Our Miranda Lee spoke with a few pastors and has the story as she continues on the world race. It's an 11-month mission trip to 11 different countries.
This is the sanction that was posted on religious buildings throughout the nation, requiring that the buildings be closed until updates can be made. It's a setback that many evangelical churches just weren't prepared for.
So many people just, discouraged.
Rwanda's government is closing thousands of churches and dozens of mosques because the buildings do not comply with the country's safety standards.
Some people have joined other churches which have been opened while they work on their churches.
Some of these safety requirements include having at least 1.5 acres of land, a parking lot, a soundproofed building, and at least 4 bathroom stalls. More long-standing churches have been able to make the upgrades quickly. Others, however, have been closed for months. Church communities say they understand the necessity of the upgrades. However, some worry they'll never be able to afford them.
We definitely need prayers that the Lord may empower us to do what we are required to do by the government for our good and for the people we lead.
The Rwandan government says they're not trying to target a particular religion, but just asking that those safety standards be met. So far, over 6,000 churches have been shut down. In Kabuga, Miranda Lee, CBN News.
Coming up, they believe it's a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and more Jews from around the world are moving to Israel, including from the United States. We're going to have that story for you coming up right after this. Stay with us. Last month, we told you the story of French Jews who left the growing anti-Semitism in France and made Aliyah to Israel. Well, just last week, more immigrants arrived in Tel Aviv, this time, though, from the United States and Canada. They had different reasons for coming, but as John Waggy shows us, many believe they're fulfilling biblical prophecy.
More than 200 new immigrants have arrived on this flight from New York, and nearly a quarter of them are lone soldiers, young people who came without their families and will soon join the Israeli military. Yaakov Khan from Monsey, New York is just out of high school. He'll be stationed in the south, near Gaza.
I'm not scared. There's no reason to be scared. It's our land. We don't have a choice, you know? You gotta do what you have to do.
And what does his family in New York think?
They're very proud of me. I hope that they follow in my steps, you know, and do what I do.
Mazal Tov, I don't know whether you know it or not, but you just entered Jewish history.
Michael Oren, Deputy Prime Minister to Benjamin Netanyahu, was an immigrant from the U.S. himself almost 40 years ago. He says most Americans come for different reasons than the French immigrants who came last month from a place where anti-Semitism is rampant.
This is a very different aliyah. The people who came from North America are not coming because they're not fleeing anti-Semitism. They are not here because of economic strife. Right? They've made a decision to move from probably a better economy than our economy to certainly maybe a more secure environment than our environment, to serve in an army. In the United States, they don't have to serve in the army. Here, they do have to serve in the army. It's a very profound, weighty decision when you think about it.
Zelda Wildman from Ohio came holding a card from her father. It was issued by the British Mandate government in Palestine, denying him the right to come to Israel before it became a modern nation.
I feel like I'm fulfilling his dream. We lost all our family in the Holocaust, and he came to Ohio because that's where he was sent. He always wanted to go to Palestine.
Jeff DeHaan brought his family from Connecticut. His wife, Dorit, took care of the kids for months while Jeff took up a new job in Israel.
It was difficult to be separated. It was difficult for the kids, but we made it.
Their son, Tal, summed it up for the family.
It's just been really hard and stressful for when we had to get everything set up. But now once we're here, it's a lot easier and it's very worth it because this has been a dream for us and we are living the dream.
We asked Yaakov Khan if he is fulfilling the words spoken by the Bible prophets.
I think it's pretty obvious that we are because we're returning.
John Waggy, CBN News, Ben Gurion Airport, Tel Aviv.
Still ahead, it is one of the best things you can do for good health, protecting your gut. But how can you buy those healthy foods without wrecking your budget? We're going to take a look at all that and much more right after this. You know, so far we've had more than 100,000 requests for the booklet on our groundbreaking series about how to build a better gut. Many of you have sent us questions about this series, like, how can I eat healthy foods for my gut without breaking the bank? Well, today, medical reporter Boris Johnson answers this and more of your most frequently asked questions. Here's her report.
Just because some unhealthy foods like processed macaroni and cheese are cheap and some healthy foods like wild-caught salmon are expensive, don't think for a minute you have to spend a lot to eat healthy.
Tiffany Terzak is living proof. She feeds her Atlanta family of 4 super healthy food for, get this, only $330 a month.
We eat real food, so food that comes from the ground, animals that eat plants from the ground. We hardly eat anything processed, and by processed, I'm referring to boxes, just add water type of things. We don't eat that.
Tiffany's online grocery budget boot camp is so popular, there's a waiting list. Probably because she saves her students an average of $2,400 a year.
I believe God has given me the gift of teaching people how to eat real food on a budget. Everything involved in that arena comes easy to me, and I know it's hard for other people.
Tiffany took me to her local grocery and shared her top tips, like stocking up on sale items.
What really caught my eye is this, and these are drumsticks for $1.79 per pound, marked down from $2.49. and these are free-range organic as well. And there are several packages up here. There's at least, 4, 5, 6 packages of them. So when someone is concerned about eating healthier food, trying to buy organics, but they always say that organic costs so much, if you just keep your eyes open, you can find really great deals on organic food at the grocery store.
So you would buy all of those packages and put them in the freezer?
I would, because the sales cycle for grocery stores is 6 to 8 weeks. And now I don't have to buy it at full price in, say, 2 weeks from now. We're good to go for several weeks.
When you hit the produce department, comparison shop. You'll be surprised some organics, like carrots, are usually pretty cheap.
So it's a 30-cent difference between conventional and organic, which is really great if you're trying to buy better quality food, but trying to keep it within the budget.
Don't pay more for chopped or washed produce. Save big money by doing it yourself. Seasonal produce is usually less expensive and abundant. And check out the bargain bin.
Some of the stores will include organic produce in this marked down section, and it doesn't change the price. It's still 99 cents for that bag, which can really save you a lot of money.
Frozen produce can be just as healthy as fresh and often a lot cheaper. And buying the right stuff in bulk also saves. For example, these big containers of probiotic-rich yogurt are a lot less per ounce than single-serving containers. Hunt for low-priced canned foods like these fiber-filled organic beans, 10 for $10.
What you may not realize is that you don't have to buy 10 to get the deal of $1 per can.
Wild canned fish is way cheaper than fresh or frozen, and it's just as healthy. Here's a good tip: only buy food at the grocery store.
Aluminum foil will cost you more at the grocery store than it would if you were to buy it at a different store that wasn't a food-focused store.
Like Walmart?
Like Walmart, Costco, Target.
Watch out for the specialty cheese section. The blue cheese here is twice the price of what's in the dairy section. Steer clear of bottled and canned drinks like juices and sodas. Stick with good old tap water instead. Also, avoid packaged snack foods like cereal bars. It's much healthier and cheaper to make them from scratch from organic whole oats.
If you are intentional with what you cook from scratch, and you cook the things that will have the biggest impact on your budget, then you can actually make cooking from scratch work in your favor.
Bone broth and kimchi are two of the best things for your gut. You can buy them at the store, but they're also really cheap and easy to make at home. First, buy meat containing bones. It's cheaper than boneless. After eating the meat, instead of throwing the bones away, save and toss them in a crock pot with water and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Let sit for an hour, then add onion, carrot, and celery. Cook on low for 24 hours or longer. Remove the large pieces of bone and vegetables, then strain and enjoy.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
And to order this free booklet, Build a Better Gut, simply call 1-800-700-7000. Or you can log on to CBN.com and download the booklet there. Plus, you can stream the entire 4-part series, Build a Better Gut, and get bonus information, all at CBN.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Operation Blessing is helping women in the West Bank and Israel provide for their families. Operation Blessing's teams hold a vocational ceramics workshop to teach the women how to create and sell their own ceramic creations. Operation Blessing also supplied them with a ceramic oven, raw materials, and high-tech clay extruder. The workshop aims to provide them with the skills needed to take control of their livelihood and to provide for their families. You can learn more about what Operation Blessing is doing by visiting its website, that is ob.org. Right now, it is time for your Monday Motivation, and I pray this message will jumpstart your day and your week. Bend your knees to pray before your needs bend you. It's easier to talk to God in crisis when you've already talked to Him in times of comfort. With that word, I encourage you to make this a marvelous Monday. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can always find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And we would love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Remember, the news continues 24/7 at cbnnews.com. Make this a marvelous Monday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.